Game of Thrones, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, and Bontegames. This is Staying In. Any of you ever watched Liar Liar?
Not for a long time.
Liar Liar was the second film I ever saw at the cinema, and it was also the film that made my mum do the naughtiest thing I've ever known her ever to do, which was to sneak me into the cinema even though I wasn't old enough to see the film.
That's nice.
And I have such a strong abiding memory of this moment. It was in Showcase Cinemas in Coventry.
Shout out.
Which is still there. Oh, yeah. And I remember that she was so nervous, bless her, about going up to the ticketman, John Ticketman.
Yeah, he was born for it.
to get the tickets, that she had to send me and my brother off to go and get the popcorn, but she made us specifically, because how Showcase Cinema was back then was you had the ticket men and women over on the left hand side, and in the middle was like a 4-way sort of. It was a concession stand in the round, so it was like concession stand, but you could go at it from 4 different ways. And she was like, "Go and stand over there." Just no. Not there.
Out of line of sight.
Yeah, round the corner. And I remember when she finally got the tickets and basically just bundled us in and gave me a pep talk before we went into the, past the ticket man. She was just like, "Look old, Samuel, look old." And it's what do I don't know.
What rating was Liar Liar?
It was a 12, I think. Was it? I hope so.
I think my parents did a similar thing with me.
Damn.
But it wasn't Liar Liar.
Yeah.
It was the very grown-up film. It was the Robin Williams classic, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, for God's sake.
Which also was a 12. And I was snuck in.
I thought you were going to say something like The Exorcist then, or something.
Something really rock and roll.
No, much better than that. Yeah, I remember. I think the Mr. Ticketman actually questioned my age, and I think my parents kind of just looked at him and kind of went,
"Yeah,
he's 12."
Yeah,
and he went, "Okay."
They looked at him and went, "It's Mrs. Doubtfire. This will be an amusing anecdote on a podcast one day. Come on, mate."
Yeah.
I'm just one of the best things to do to really take all the magic out of cinema is to go to the BBFC website and look at their classifications about films, because I wanted to double check that this was a 12 when it was released. And so the BBFC are great. So they give you a really good, and Dan, you'll want this when you're taking Toby to his first movie. They give you really detailed stuff about what happens in a film, so you know if it's going to be right for your kid or whatever.
Okay.
So this is the BBFC ratings info about Liar Liar. So they give you a brief summary of the story. So Liar Liar is a comedy about a successful lawyer who, as a result of his son's birthday wish, is unable to lie for 24 hours. Fair play.
So far, so wholesome family fun.
There are frequent moderate sex references, including a comic reference to humping her brains out, and lines of dialogue such as "bend over and taking up the tailpipe." What? And reference to a woman being ridden more than the Seattle Slew.
Whoa.
There are also sounds of a character having sex and reaching orgasm on a tape, played by a character. But they
didn't give away who the character is.
No. But there is no visual detail. There is a brief sex scene where a fully clothed woman sits astride a man and fumbles with his belt. There are uses of moderate bad language, such as, I don't know how I do this, because I'm just going to have to bleep it out anyway, but prick, dickhead, as well as uses of milder terms, including bastard, ass, jerk, and
I'll be really interested to see which of those milder ones get bleeped out.
Yeah. Sam, does this all happen in the opening 5 minutes?
Kris and I went to the Glinema.
Yep.
Okay.
Which is great fun. So we went. Oh my god! Shall I just read you the description?
Yes. Well, and we'll try and guess what the
and you try and guess what the film
is.
What the
Yeah,
film was. Okay, here we go. So it's an action thriller in which a hitman must escape several attempts of his life.
Got it.
What? Hang on. We'll give Pete a chance. Okay. Frequent scenes of violence include men being shot and stabbed with resultant sight of blood spray on impact.
Standard.
One scene shows a man's neck being snapped over a heavy book.
That's my favourite scene.
Oh my god!
It's extraordinary.
That scene is... Oh
Yeah.
my god. In another scene, a man uses a blade to cut another man's eye out, including sight of bloody detail. There is strong language. And you know it's strong because even the BBFC have bleeped these ones out.
Redacted.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say those to save myself a bit of effort in
Yeah.
in the long run. So, Pete, what film did Kris and I go to the Glinner to see?
So it's what I don't know, a very hard-boiled action movie. It sounds like I don't know what it would be, but like,
Well, it's quite funny that you actually reference hard boiled because that's actually one film.
Hang on.
Go on.
Did Pete know he was referencing a film when he said that?
Yes.
I have seen the movie
Yeah.
Hard-Boiled.
Okay. You never know with Pete.
Because that is definitely one film that this particular film references. And indeed, I think Hard Boiled is a film that is sort of emblematic of what this film is. It's John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, which is Latin for
Parachute.
Prepare for war.
well done, Kris. It's like you saw the film. So as the BBFC, I mean, they've done all the synopsis for me. I mean, without really ruining anything. But have you guys seen any of the John Wick movies before?
I can't say I have. They've never really interested me. They always struck me as kind of the much more violent kung fu-y stylings version of a Fast and the Furious film. That's how I imagined it to be. And I kind of get everything I need from a Fast and Furious film. So I've never really had an interest in John Wick, even though it's kind of slowly become this gargantuan thing that's getting bigger and bigger each film that comes out. It seems to be bigger and bigger.
I think, to be quite reductionist about it, the John Wick series basically are the best video game movies ever made. Hands down.
This looks like Max Payne.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
But it's like Max Payne, Uncharted,
Yeah.
Gears of War, all that kind of thing. It's like they're just incredible, and I'm a fan of these kind of things anyway. But I'm particularly fans of movies like this where a director and an actor are completely sort of in sync and are sort of at the peak of their powers. So films like Hard Target, Hard Boiled, Ong Bak,
The
Raid, Mission Impossible, Fallout. They're all films that have the central core being a director, so say like Christopher McQuarrie, and an actor, say like Tom Cruise, working together to complete their vision of what they want. And John Wick is just absolutely the embodiment of that. And I don't use this word lightly, but it is a performance piece. Like the amount of work that goes into it. Like if you watch that video of Keanu, like he is at now. I listened to an interview with the director Chad Stahelski, who's a stuntman, and these are the only films that he makes, which is incredible. Like they're the only films that he directs. Like he says that Keanu is now at a competition level standard firearms shooter.
Can you imagine having him as a father-in-law? How intimidating that would be. That your father-in-law is Baba Yaga.
But the whole film, all three of the films are a performance piece. Like they are, it's choreography, it's dance, it's basically in other interviews they reference influences of like Buster Keaton and silent movie cinema, like those scenes of Buster Keaton when he's standing there and a whole like building lands on him and he's perfect. Like it's that kind of intricate design and movement and placement. And unlike the Fast and the Furious films, which are good and they're fun action romps, like there's no like delicacy in there. There's no like real finesse. And like
you're right. The Fast and Furious films have never been called delicate.
But like John Wick does stuff like stripping out the percussion in Vivaldi's Autumn and replacing all the percussion with gunshots. And
no, but Pete, they actually had to sync.
That sounds great.
But they had to sync up the entire sequence. Like they had to plan the whole sequence so the rhythm of the fighting would correlate with the rhythm of the actual music.
Okay, just to be clear, that sounds phenomenal, and I would love to see that. But also, say that sentence again.
No,
like what? I mean, I'm sure Vivaldi would be thrilled.
I mean, it's a very aggressive season.
There's a strange reaction that you have, I think, to films like this, where for some reason you laugh at, something happens like John Wick throws an axe and it goes into someone's head, or he's shooting people to Vivaldi's Autumn or whatever. And for some reason, like seeing someone perform those acts just makes like the reaction that I find it has in me is like I laugh, and I was like turning to Kris and just going, have we just seen what we've just seen someone do?
Yeah.
And especially a film like this, or like a film like The Raid or Mission Impossible Fallout, where that the actors, the performers, are doing all those stunts themselves and have worked to make sure this is as genuine as an experience as possible. Like you just have that moment where you just burst out laughing because it's just like, I cannot believe I've just been witness to this incredible moment, and like the director and the stars have been working together to make sure that like this has been pulled off and been made humanly possible. And there was even one moment where they're preparing for this big fight, and I must have been the most annoying person in the cinema because it was really, really quiet, and then all you would have heard is this zzzz, as I pulled my reclining seat fully forward because I was just like, I am on the edge of my seat, and I've actually got to create an edge now to sit on to watch this final fight. Oh,
brilliant.
But
brilliant.
What I do like is that it is, as Sam alluded to, a video game film in the sense that the production design, it looks like someone has designed a video game level, in real life. And you feel like you're engaged in a shooter. Second, with that, they all reload. They all reload weapons. In the second film, for example, he's pinned a bloke down on the floor with a shotgun, realises he can't fire, and he keeps the bloke pinned while he reloads the shotgun. You see him, everything's reloaded. They've gone to, even though it is ridiculous and farcical in terms of its scope and its world building, which we haven't even gotten onto yet, the actual mechanics of the gunfight, the payoff is beautiful because you know that this isn't an infinite bullets kind of scenario. That they have that he has like a belt full of magazines, and you see him run out of those magazines and dump the belt, say, for example.
The director's just like, reloading stupid. And the moment you try and make a film where they're just shooting loads of guns, you immediately understand why reloading's never in an action movie. But he was like, but let's make reloading part of this world. Like, he always has to reload. But Kris alluded to it there about the thing that I think elevates John Wick, especially over films like Fast and the Furious, and where it joins, in my mind, things like Hard Boiled and The Raid, is that it has this strange mythology to it. Like, it was something that wasn't really in the first film, but it was really in the second film, and they've expanded on it in the third, is that the worlds themselves exist with their own mythology and their own power structures and their own like internal levels of government and understanding. So there's So in the John Wick world, there are these places called the Continental, which are hotels that are based around the world. And basically, there are hotels which house criminals. And there's a rule where no business, in inverted commas, can be committed on continental grounds. So basically, you have this area, there's one in New York. You have this area where it's perfectly feasible for assassins that are out to get each other and are actively out to kill each other will sit down and have a drink together, and then they'll leave and they'll carry on their business of fighting each other. And the economics of the world are driven by these gold coins that all of the assassins use, and that's what they use as their membership and their currency to pay for things. And there will be homeless people who are like the eyes of another house of assassins or a house of criminals, and so John Wick might give them a gold coin and they'll hide him. Or there might be a doctor who can give gold coins to that will give him a service. So they're all bound by this wonderful sense of place and governance and mythology, which really it's great because it allows the film to get away with lots of things that I don't think it would. So basically, there are scenes where John Wick kills 2 people with a pencil in the middle of a busy subway, and you think, how can he get away with that? But then you realise that the whole mythology of the world is set up to take those questions away from you. It's kind of this is a world in which assassins can sit down and have drinks together, and this is a world where people make blood pledges to each other and things like that. So it's just obviously there must be someone who comes around and just cleans everything up, or
it's it sounds like it convinces you that no, we've thought about this, and so therefore you're prepared to go, oh, okay, well, I'll give you the time of day then, rather than just a lot of action movies which tend to be just quite dumb.
I think this is now the only sequence of films that I've seen that get better with every single one. Right. 2 is better than 1, 3 is better than 2. Hands down, the sequels.
2 words. Toy Story. Do you want to hear how far we got on our miles?
Oh, we haven't done that in a while. Oh, God.
It would appear that we have a mole in our league.
There's a mole running.
Is this the new Sonic?
As you may be aware, there is a podcast who have deemed us a rival.
Oh, this lot.
And one of their hosts has found his way sneakily, thief-like, into our league.
That's cool.
League team? Not a league. It's a team. We're a team. Yeah, we're a team. That's completely wrong. We're not. It's not a league. It's a team. Because we're all heading for the same goal. So I'm a bit unsure whether or not I give him the shout out he is so craving.
I see.
By joining our team.
Well, so who is this?
Well, I'm gonna have to do it now, aren't I? Because you've asked me the question. So the person is, because we're consistent and we're friendly to all. So welcome to the Staying in team to Dan Hughes.
Yes.
From Sporadically Board, another podcast, who are also doing a Charity Miles challenge. Yeah. My understanding is they've raised more money than us, but that's fine.
That's really good.
That's fantastic.
That's great. More money for charity makes everyone happy.
Oh, that's
fantastic. I take it as we are their inspiration. We can claim.
Yeah, we should get their money.
We should definitely claim that if that's not the case. We should definitely be
it will be a Charity Miles care of Staying in podcast.
It feels like that sequence in one of the Anchorman films where all these rival nerdy geeky podcasts all team up for an alleyway brawl.
So far we have raised, and I'm going to approximate it a little bit because there's a few figures I haven't put in yet that I need to kind of work it out, is at the moment just over $860.
Wow.
We are on course. I mean, our original target was $1,000. Obviously,
rocking it.
It's May. So, well done, everyone in the team. We have 30 runners now. Is it 30 runners? Think about that. 30, thank you so much to everyone who's joining in. If you're listening and you fancy joining in, You still can. Just
Please do.
download the app, Charity Miles. You can find us. It's #StayingInPod is our team, so you can find us, join us. It's all free. You pick your charity, and then you turn it on everywhere you walk, or you cycle, or you run. It'll record where you're going, turn that distance into cash, and it'll go to the charity of your choice.
Beautiful.
It's a fantastic system, and we're loving doing it, and we're loving having all these people running with us. It's fantastic.
Singing my own lyrics to the theme of Game of Thrones
Yes.
is the one thing I'm going to miss about never having to watch Game of Thrones ever again.
Right.
I'm so glad that someone else sings along to the theme tune.
Well, I do,
I mean-
and I created my own lyrics, which is
Go on.
potatoes, the potatoes, the potatoes, the potatoes, the potatoes, the potatoes, the potato. Do you like the potatoes? It's two people really, but it doesn't make much sense when I
It's a
sing
call
it on
and
my own.
response.
So, yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's like, do you like the potato? And then the other guy goes, the potatoes, the potatoes, the potatoes. yes, I really like the potatoes, the potatoes.
It's interesting,
the
actually,
potatoes.
in the last shot of the series, which I'm not going to talk about what it is, they actually have the theme put to like a choir, and I think I should re-listen to that and just check if that's actually what they're singing.
Yeah, whether or not they're saying it.
I was listening to the end of it and thinking, "Oh, can I hear the words? What are the words?"
There's
Because my Game of Thrones song is great, but probably copyrighted.
Are there any other? So are there any other games that you play when like the credit sequence is on? Because one of my favourite ones, and I didn't know this until you pointed it out to me, Sam, was to play the who's got the weirdest name in Brooklyn Nine-Nine game, which is a fantastic.
It's unpronounceable. That's, I think, what Sam says. The unpronounceable name.
Yeah,
And then we watched it and we were like, we can pronounce all of these names.
No, but they're all a bit strange, the names. But like most of the credits. Oh, yeah. They're all like Dangu and Benchu. And who are the other ones?
It's Dan Gore. That's not I don't understand why these names are strange to you.
I'm gonna do opening credits. Here we go. Intro. I'll turn the audio off. Right. So you've got Andy Samberg. Fine. You've got Stephanie Beatriz. Terry Crews. Fine. Melissa Fumero.
Melissa Fumero. These are not difficult names.
Who else? Who's this one? Joe Latruglio. Like, these are all great. Now, these are all great names. I don't know how to say Andre Braga.
Andre Brower. Come on, these are not difficult names.
And then you got Goran Shaw at the end. I genuinely think,
To be fair to Pete, they're difficult names if you don't know how to say them.
if you don't know how to say names, it's like, but
Like Terry Crews.
Yeah, but you know how to read. You can take it. You can have a guess.
I take a punt every time, Dan. But yeah, I honestly, oh man, actually, I'm digging through. There's so much. Obviously, there's so much good television, and that's not even a thing to say, is it? But like, the amount of really good comedy on at the moment is astonishing. Like, especially on Netflix, the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the thing that they did after that, the Good Place. Cupcake and Dino, which is a bit more of a kiddie animation thing, but also what's that more adult animation one about
puberty.
About puberty.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Oh no, it's really good, like really funny.
We're meant to be talking about Game of Thrones. We're meant to be getting that hot SEO.
Yeah, it's because Pete hasn't watched Game of Thrones. He wants to talk about his random animated indie thing that no one has seen.
Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, let's definitely not spoil any of it. But have you guys all seen the end of season 8? Is it 8 seasons?
Why are we not allowed to spoil any of it?
Because
you're the only one here that hasn't seen it.
Because I don't think we should spoil it. I think the moratorium on it is not out yet. Like, it isn't possible for people in Britain to actually like see it legally yet, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was broadcast the same time in the UK as it was in the US.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. That didn't used to be the case, did it? It used to be that you had to
it did.
get it elsewhere. Oh, all right, fine, fair enough. Well, I just knew a load of scumbags who pirated it then. All right. Well, I don't want to hear any spoilers.
Okay.
What First of all,
What happens?
first question, was season 8 worth the additional time they gave per episode?
No.
Yes.
Conflicting. So
Can I give a reason for that?
yes, please do. I'm looking to you, Dan. Dan, for why? Yes.
I say yes because the story they're telling in that episode is helped by the extended length of that story.
Okay.
Now, I know where Sam's coming from, and there is a way that I could look at it and say no, but I would say for the story that they're telling in the long episodes,
Yeah.
most of them anyway, I think the longer time is warranted.
Okay. Question number 2. Is the ending satisfying? Has it been worth 8 seasons to get to the ending?
That's a very difficult question for me to answer.
Like, do you feel like if somebody... Okay, here's the thing. Let's say, for example, I took out my Men in Black pen and I could say to you, Dan, I can Men in Black you, right? And you will forget certain things, right? And specifically, I'm going to make you forget 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, right? Do you want me to do this to you so you can go and enjoy the whole thing all over again and get really, oh yeah, get it? Or would you prefer your time back?
Oh no! If those are the two options,
These are the 2 options I'm giving you in this hypothetical.
then I'd watch it again because I've really enjoyed the experience of watching it.
Okay.
I don't finish it and say I've wasted my time. There are problems,
Okay.
especially in the final couple of series,
All right.
but for me those aren't narrative problems. They're problems of execution.
Okay. And then the final question, the third question. How many dice do you have to roll in the Game of Thrones?
Ooh. I'd say 3.
Mm-hmm.
1.
A D20, a D6, and a D10.
Oh, some good Ds. Love it. Love some good D. Good. They're my 3 questions.
That'll do.
Yep.
So do you plan on watching it, Peter, at any point?
No.
Fair enough.
No, that's fair enough. What's your reason then for not wanting spoilers? Considering you have no intention of experiencing it yourself.
Because it's the 2 reasons. One, I would like an episode of this podcast where people don't have to skip forward 10, 15 minutes.
That's true.
And the second reason is, Dan, can I tell you about... Would you be interested if I told you about what is currently happening in the penultimate books of the Games Workshop series Horus Heresy? Can I tell you about what's happening at the moment and about the journey to Terra and how what's been happening with the Dark Angels, what the Ultramarines up to, what's Raboot Gilliman up to? Do you want me to tell you about how about the Primaris Initiative? And all that sort of stuff. Shall I tell you all about it?
Not really.
No, that's the same for me in Game of Thrones. It's like when
Okay. But if you, Sam, and Chris wanted to talk about it, I wouldn't say no.
That's true. That's true. What a beautiful day that would be if Chris were to turn round to me and say, "Tell me all about Angron." Yeah. Man.
It was all right, Game of Thrones. It was all right.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we can talk about it purposely without giving the big spoilers away, I think so. For me, to elaborate on some of my earlier answers, the issues were, I think, after the end of season 5, maybe season 6. I can only imagine it's a contractual thing because they must have wanted to keep Game of Thrones going for as long as possible. everything was building then towards the end point in season 8, and it kind of sped up an awful lot. One of the great things about Game of Thrones, in the early seasons, at least for me anyway, was that slow burn of the story, and it just kind of giving it to you little bit by piece, and there's a lot of kind of character development that allowed. Towards the end, it all started rushing, and suddenly you were kind of like thrown, because, hang on a minute, getting from place A to place B used to take an entire series. You've done it between episodes now. That kind of thing threw me a bit. And then as the seasons went on, especially in this final season, the narrative decisions they make, I didn't have a problem with. I agreed with all the narrative decisions. I didn't have a problem with any of them. And some of them have been controversial, but I was happy with all of them. But the execution, I didn't accept. I needed more to get to decisions that certain characters might have made. I needed more time to allow them to get to that position, rather than it seemingly happening very quickly. And the story beats had been set in before, but it's still, the flip was too quick. And obviously people are listening, they know exactly some of the things I'm talking about there, and that was where my problem was. The actual decisions themselves, perfectly happy with those. And some of those people didn't like, some of them they did like. I didn't have a problem with them. My problem was I didn't buy the character motivations in order to do certain things. Because for me, it could have done with another season, maybe potentially another 2, just to plot it a little bit nicer. I can only think that it was contractual that they had to end it at this point, and I think the general consensus is it felt rushed. You only had 6 episodes this season. I think you only had 7 in the previous season, and there's just not enough time to tie up all the loose ends and tell the story that the previous 6 seasons had built up.
See, I hear you say that, and I wonder why you never enjoyed Mad Men, because that is exactly what makes Mad Men like one of the greatest shows that has ever been. Like, oh, you want to buy a company? We're going to take 20 episodes to really dive deep into the economics of buying other companies. Meanwhile, here's sex and drugs. And alcoholism.
I mean, I'll answer that for you. I watched a few episodes and it didn't grab me, and then I didn't stick with it because it hadn't grabbed me. Game of Thrones did grab me right at the start.
Yeah, that's because of all the tits and the dragons.
That's a direct quote from the BBFC.
But
I like dragons.
Using Mad Men as an example, and indeed shows like The Sopranos and The Wire, and to a certain extent Gilmore Girls, but not really, because that didn't really finish. But
what about Breaking Bad?
Yeah, okay. On reflections of history and from a critical point of view, why those series and why those TV shows are deemed to have pulled off their ending was that, like Game of Thrones, which was a series that played with your expectations of what fantasy and TV shows are, and always tried to subvert your expectations in that way. Where Mad Men and The Sopranos, especially, and The Wire were doing the same things. Those series subverted your expectations on how a series would end, but never did that at the expense of character and of what those characters were. However, Game of Thrones completely, in my opinion, did that, where they tried to subvert the expectations of how this series was going to end and what was going to happen to bring it all together. But they did it purely at the expense of the characters, rather than finding a good narrative way to bring it all to a close, which is why I think that if you were to go back and watch it, you would feel exactly the same by the time you got to the end of the series. Whereas when I thought and gone back and watched like the last episode of Sopranos or the last episode of Breaking Bad or The Wire or Mad Men, each time I've been able to go, that's actually exceptionally good, and there are different ways that I can read that ending and look into it, and it's layered and it's depth, and you know, it's all the wonderful things a TV show will be. However, I think if you were to go back and watch the finale of season 8 of Game of Thrones, I think you'd dollars to donuts, you'd feel just as shortchanged and maybe a little bit unhappy about it as you do now. Because it's just, everything is sacrificed. Characters basically are sacrificed to try and subvert the genre and your expectations, which is totally the wrong way to go about it. And also it was too short, and no one's been able to explain to me why they did that when they didn't need to do that.
This was a very odd one for me, really. I didn't feel like I was watching it at my own pace, and I felt that if I'd watched this series at my own pace, where I wouldn't have watched it weekly, I would have let time pass between episodes, which would have made it feel more substantial, where a lot of that lifting of characters jumping from one place to another that Sam says, which usually would take ages to happen, would actually happen in my own head. I'd probably enjoy it more, and I'd savour it more, knowing that it's only 6 episodes. Like a colleague of mine, John, he's a massive West Wing fan, and he's still not watched the last episode. He loves the fact that it's just there. At some point he can go and finish it, and so he likes leaving that thread dangling. Whereas there is that kind of pressure now that you want to be part of that conversation. You want to be part of that group of people who throws in their 2 cents as to whether they like this particular bit or dislike this particular bit. Mm-hmm. I found out today that one of my former students I used to teach is actually he's quite big on the internet in terms of his Game of Thrones reaction videos.
That's cool.
I know, he was interviewed by Sky about it.
Really?
It's extraordinary for his opinions on the polarising effect of this season. And I think it's just been part of that buzz that I never had before, that I don't really like now. So that buzz has left a bit of taste in my mouth. I actually genuinely think I'd enjoy this series more if I watched it after the buzz had died down. And I would have probably heard on the grapevine, oh yeah, by the way, if you're going to watch this last season, just take your time with it because it goes too fast. Just bear that in mind. So it's been a bit of an odd one really for me. There was one character misstep I didn't really like. But other than that, I could see it. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm happy about it, but then again, it's Game of Thrones. It's not supposed to end like Lord of the Rings. I'm still a bit of a gog to this petition to rewrite the season. I think rather than writing a petition, you should just try and go off and somehow create your own version of it, whether it be, I don't know, fan fiction, whether it be animation, film, whatever. Really, there are tools at your disposal to create your own version of that season.
Here we go. The BBFC, we're back again.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so this film was released in 2017. Contains mild threat. It was a PG. Okay. So there are scenes in this film in which the lead character is rescued from drowning.
Okay.
He floats on a log, and then he's trapped in a train carriage that's fallen into a river. There is some tension and a sense of danger, but it's quite brief, and the outcome is reassuring, which is good.
That sounds nice.
There are also some scenes of comic threat played as slapstick, with characters attempting to cross from one moving train to another.
Paddington 2.
You didn't tag.
Didn't tag.
Paddington 2.
Okay.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yes, well done.
I was going to say, you had to tell him who was right or wrong.
No, you're correct, yeah.
It's an amazing film. It's an amazing, amazing film.
You didn't let me get to the best bit, which was there is infrequent use of very mild bad language, such as bottoms and...
What?
Oh my God.
Paddington
2.
Eat those marmalade sandwiches of yours.
Well done, Pete. So now you've just got to get one. And,
all right. Okay.
But we'll save that for later.
All right. Save that little treat. The other thing I don't really like about Game of Thrones is it is one of those series that I think would stress me out because I've seen a couple of episodes and I think I'd get like a bit anxious about everyone. Like, I hope they're going to be all right. Oh no.
How would you feel if you could? I'm not saying we're going to tell you now, but if you could sit there and know the outcome of all the characters.
Sometimes I actually read the synopsis of horror movies on Wikipedia.
I do the exact same thing.
I love it so much. We should do a podcast on it. It's going to be great. I genuinely thought that'd be a great podcast series of like people just very dryly reading the synopsis for horror movies.
What, like a true crime, like case file kind of
Well,
thing?
like, look, okay, hold on a second. Right, hold on.
Well, it's basically the spoiler paradox, isn't it? Which is proving that actually deep down people enjoy knowing what's going to happen.
Okay, let me give you an example of how Pete and Dan's reading a horror synopsis podcast works. Okay, right. Okay, this is cross promo marketing. Okay, so basically, hello everyone. Welcome to Dan.
Hi guys.
No. Right. Okay. This is how Pete and Dan's horror podcast. This is how it works. This is the opening. Right. This is how you open it. All right. I'm going to be exec producing, so this is how you open. Okay. Nothing.
Okay.
Boo! Hello!
Okay, right.
I love the fact that, Sam, you explained Pete's podcast to Dan's podcast, which is about explaining.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so.
And I just explained what you did.
I'm Dan and he's Pete.
We've got a brand new episode for you, but before that, make sure that you subscribe to Audible and use our little passcode, because then we get a kickback for everything.
Hang on. How come you guys have got advertising?
We've got advertising. It's fine. Now listen.
This is $1 million idea. Son.
Right. Okay. So, and here's a line, and then you can imagine like blah 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 blah. Like midway through, Tom Six returns to the prison where he's met by Bill and Dwight. Touring the cells, the trio discover a mentally unstable inmate who is eating his own feces and wants to be sewn into the centipede. Right, now imagine that, but for like, you just read the Wikipedia entry.
For an hour.
That's worse.
But every episode is a movie where you just read the Wikipedia entry. Perfect. Like and subscribe. What better way to describe that movie than by someone very cheery and very pleasant just telling you that, Bill and Dwight observe the operation with Six, who vomits after seeing the death row inmates being dismembered for a special project. Perfect.
When was the last time, Dan, you worked on a special project? Well, I'll tell you, Pete.
It rhymes itself.
Well,
are we throwing in smaller sides as well?
Well, yeah. I don't know, but one special
you've got to take diversions.
One special project I've got on at the moment is I need to build a new website. How would I do that? But anyway, but yeah, like I get stressed out about all that sort of stuff. So I can't really take those things on board. So instead, I just have not been able to have stressful things in my life at the moment. So instead. I have been playing... Now, Sam, you recommended these. Bart Bonte... Is it Bonte? Bonte?
Oh my gosh, Pete's inability to pronounce anything.
Should we get the Brooklyn Nine-Nine cast in here to explain?
Yeah, exactly. Bart Bonte, I believe he is a Belgian developer. He's made a lot of games, but Yellow, Red, and Black are the three that I've been playing. Because you recommended that I go and check out, what was it, Black? That you specifically said? Yeah. And I was like, 2 for you first. I'm going to go and play all 3 of them. It's a trilogy of games that are all obviously related around one colour, and they're very much in the spirit of what you were like what we were talking about last time, which was Peter forgot.
Hook.
Which was Hook, the nice, relaxing puzzle game. And while these games, they're not quite as meditative, but they definitely do have that, they have that thoughtfulness about them. They have that, so what I really love about them is that you really do, so you've got each of these individual games, and the whole thing is that they revolve around these different colours, and the idea is that you need to have the entire screen filled with this colour. Yellow, let's say, in yellow. And to do that, you'll have to complete certain puzzles. And they're all quite different. So one of them might be you've got little black squares and then some yellow squares. And when you slide up, it looks like you're colouring the black squares yellow where you're sliding a specific yellow tile up, and it's like leaving almost like a trail of colour where it goes. And then you fill the whole thing in, you do all the swipes that you need to do, and you fill in the whole thing yellow, and then you move on to the next level. And each of these, there's 50 levels in each of these. There's 150 across these 3 games. And there's no instructions straight out the gate. They just say to you, they just give you the number of the level, and then perhaps there's like very vague clue of like, you know, like they might just have like numbers, for example, and that might be some vague hint as to what needs to be done. But generally they don't have anything like that, and you just have to tap on the screen and swipe and slide and do things in a different order, and maybe hit to a rhythm, and you have to figure out what the game wants you to do. And none of it's particularly complicated. And indeed, there is a hint system that you can engage with if you really get stuck. And I got stuck. I must admit, I got stuck 2 or 3 times across the 3 games, because some of them are right teasers.
Yeah.
But my God,
they're very good, aren't they?
They are very good, and they are exactly. You were bang on. They are exactly what I needed. Very, very good at distracting the mind and focusing on the task of doing the thing, you know? Like, sometimes when I'm playing games, like, my mind starts to wander and go into different areas of, like, you know, I'm thinking, I'm stressed out about something, and I'll you know, you'll be running around in Assassin's Creed, and, you know, real life starts entering, I should really do the dishwasher, and, you know, I should take the bins out, and I should do this. But
actually,
these games are like, no... I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but like, these games don't do that. These games are like, pay attention, like, figure us out, and they're so, they're not rapid fire, but they are that it's very rare that you're stuck on a puzzle for more than 4 or 5 minutes, and it just absorbs your attention. When you come out the end of them, like, you just feel like, that was really satisfying. I finished a game. I solved all those puzzles. I feel very smart.
Yeah.
And also, all your troubles, you've forgotten about them temporarily. And they're just really lovely. Really good games.
That's the key, is that feeling of kind of like ownership of your own intelligence. Because obviously you need to be, I think you need to be like quite smart to play something like Ganshon Clever, or, you know, like Minesweeper, or games where you already know the mechanics and you figured out the puzzle. Like if you're playing Assassin's Creed, for example, you have to be pretty smart to hold all of those mechanics in your head, know exactly what you're doing, what your objectives are. But I think what Black, Yellow and Red do well, Hook's similar, and I'll go back to it, but Journal 27 as well, is that they give you a certain ownership over your own intelligence, and that's frustrating because in the same way it makes you feel very smart, it also can make you feel very stupid feeling, really, because
no one likes to feel like they're silly, do they?
No, yeah, exactly. And so it's always a dangerous kind of game to play with. But I think where Black, Yellow and Red do it really well is that somehow the designer manages to get that balance perfectly right, where just at the moment that you're feeling like, I am not clever enough to do this puzzle, you will figure it out, or the design of them is so simple that it sticks in your mind so well that you won't be thinking about it, and like going to work or going to get a cup of tea, and you'll suddenly go, that's how it's done. Or maybe I should try that. And so that's a wonderful feeling. And even though it's the designer's intelligence that has got you to that point, and not necessarily that you've become smarter, the design makes you feel like it's your own intelligence that has got you to that point, and that's, you know, why you feel so good while you're playing it.
And it's this strange shared sort of emotional state or mental state where I know the feeling that he's trying to engender in me of successfully completing this puzzle. And we've sort of shared that as creator and as viewer, you know. It's lovely. I love these little puzzle things, and I think his ones are just ace. I think they're very clever. I really hope he does. Really hope he does another color soon. Which color would you have him do next, if you could? Pink. I think actually like a soft lilac. Yeah. I'd actually quite like that. A glaring neon one. No, absolutely not. But a nice soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pastel pink.
Like a pastel.
Yeah, like
yeah.
that.
I'll be up for that.
Do we have any questions, Pete?
We do have questions. And we need some more, actually. So send them to stayinginpod@gmail.com or via Twitter @stayinginpod, via Facebook, which is also @stayinginpod. And did you know you can now go to stayinginpodcast.com? I know, we have a .com now. Isn't that exciting? Like, we're real.
We always swore we'd never go the corporate route.
I know. Look at us.
Hang on.
Look at us.
Selling out.
Corporate shills.
Stayinginpodcast.com.
I'm testing it out.
Go on. It will go straight through to...
Is it just pictures? It's pictures of you nude, Pete.
Yeah, well, listen.
It's you cycling.
Oh,
no!
I needed content.
He's doing what they did with the Sonic trailer, that conspiracy.
Yeah.
Get as much negative press as possible.
Yeah. So you can do all that stuff. And Bailey Neal has sent us something. Thank you very much, Bailey Neal.
Hello there.
They send us a very serious question, actually.
No.
And I'm sorry about this,
Jeez.
but I think this one takes a little bit of... let's just all calm down for a moment. Take a breath.
Ready.
And answer the question. If each of you was a pizza, what pizza would you be and why? Now, I think we should collectively decide what everybody else is as a pizza.
Can we pick from an established menu?
Yeah, you know what? Okay, let's go on to... All right, hold on. Open up...
Okay. Right, now you got to pick them.
All
I
right.
used to work at Pizza Hut. So
Okay.
What were the perks of the job, Sam?
free pizza at lunch, but we could only ever have 3 toppings.
What?
I know.
Okay, let's go with the... okay, I'm going to work from the standard, which is the Pizza Hut menu.
Okay, I'm on the Pizza Hut menu. Oh my god.
Well, now I have to get the
Jesus
pizza Hut
Christ.
menu out.
Oh, this looks... Oh, God, do you know what?
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
What have they done to food? What is that? What? Okay, let's go with Dan. Let's pick on Dan first. What kind of base is Dan?
Oh, deep pan.
He's a deep pan,
Deep.
isn't he?
Deep pan.
I would agree with you. He's a deep pan. What sort of a topping? I think for me, Dan is reliable.
Okay.
He is a classic. Personally, now you may not agree with me on this one, but I think I would call him a supreme. Okay. Now the supreme has chicken breast. It has black olives, beef, pepperoni, red onions, and mixed peppers. Now the thing is, that sounds as if that's going to be very satisfying, but there's nothing on there where you go, I don't know what I'm going to get here.
That's true.
You look at it and you go, you know what? I'm going to be very happy with that. And that to
Does
me...
a person have to enjoy the pizza that they are?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is Dan Supreme Frost is what we're going with.
Yes, well, I'm not
Okay.
saying that, but let's go.
You said it. It's in. It's done and
true.
dusted. I am chomping down on that bad boy.
So
There's one pizza here that prides itself on having hand-torn ham.
Oof.
what? So basically, right? Let's do Kris because that's easy because we'll find the pizza that's got the most toppings on
Yeah,
it.
it's just all of them mashed
Yeah,
together.
It's
But-
4 pizzas.
but also on the thinnest base, which I think is a pizza colada flatbread, which is pineapple, jackfruit, sweet corn, peppers, red onions, rockets, on the thinnest base, all for 460 calories. That's Kris.
All over the shop. Very, very exciting menu there, but also he would order 4 of them. So
I'd stack them.
Let's go with you, Sam.
Hello.
I think
I think you're doing most of the work here, Pete.
Do you know what? I know a lot about pizzas.
What kind of base and crust? A cheesy bites for sharing? Someone to share?
Very gregarious.
Gluten free?
Gluten free.
What does that say about me if you think I need a gluten-free base?
It says that you're health conscious. You're always thinking about the things that you put into your body.
Oh, right, okay.
Right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And then
There's a feel-good flatbread.
There's a virtuous veg.
Right, okay. What's on the virtuous veg, Chris?
The virtuous veg, Peter, contains fresh spinach, mixed peppers, red onions, mushrooms, and cherry tomatoes, topped with rocket.
A virtuous veggie, mate.
Done. And then Pete is... Right, I think Pete is definitely deep pan cheesy bites. And
yeah, I can see him enjoying those, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, but like cheesy bites seems like a guy that's good for sharing. But
what about a Texas meat meltdown?
I think that's a description of that time that Pete went rogue.
For me, I agree with you on the Texas meat meltdown. It feels like a pizza that just goes like there's no. It's not on volume level 2 or 3. It is volume level 11 immediately.
Yeah,
it is like you are going to go to sleep after this pizza.
But you know that you're too much, so that's why you've got the cheesy bites.
Just
you need to offload that
little pop on the side. Well, that was a very good question. We're not actually sponsored by Pizza Hut, but
I'm really hungry now.
I strongly recommend you don't eat there because they look awful. They look like abominations against God. So like.
It's good that we're fair and balanced here. We give them a good 5 minutes of advertising and then destroy them.
Right, one final BBFC game.
Come on, Pete, you've got this. Come on, Pete.
Yeah, okay.
Me and Kris could win it, or you could make it even.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
So, the film includes scenes where characters face danger as they're chased by villains and are caught up in what appears to be an earthquake. This is very critical coming from the BBFC. There are fighting scenes, but the action is unrealistic, without injury detail. And the intensity is punctuated by humour and a focus on the heroes handling the threat by being resourceful. There is very mild, rude humour with references to peeing and a character's nakedness. There is very mild innuendo in references to a character's flirting technique and a very oblique drug reference relating to a fantastical gaseous substance.
This is Detective Pikachu.
Well done! It's Detective Pikachu! I knew I had to pick a movie that you'd seen within the last 48 hours to have any chance.
Because otherwise it's just gone. It's just gone.
There is also very mild bad language, hell, geez, God, and damn, and a line in which a character exclaims, "Oh sh!"
Oof.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the BBFC is there to safeguard
Ever
us.
vigilant.
Ever vigilant.
So that was Staying In with Daniel Frost, Peter Willington, Kris Darby, and myself, Sam Turner. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our episode. Make sure that you tell a friend about the podcast if they're not already listening to it. It's the best way to get the word out there. If you want, you can still join our Charity Miles team. Just download the app from your app store. Search for us, #StayingInPod, and there you can help us walk, run, and cycle to raise money for charity. Also, while you're on the internet, stayinginpodcast.com is the destination where you can find out All the details from previous shows, our Board Game Geek and Steam curation pages, also the best place to go to ask us a question. I'd start at the Twitter feed at StayingInPod. But for now, until the next show, it's a goodbye from us. Ta-ta!